Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our Alcohol Brand Builder. My name is Michelle Harlambopoulos, and I'm the marketing manager in Dallas-Fort Worth for OUTFRONT. Out of Home is a great partner to the alcohol and beverage brands. With new products rapidly launching across the country, it is a very competitive and trend-driven industry with increased need to reach the masses. As of late, we have seen the rise of hard seltzer in the ready-to-drink category and an increase in popularity of both tequila and bourbon. The pandemic has had an impact on our drinking habits, not only how much we consume, but where we consume it, also giving rise to beverage delivery services and increased online purchasing. As we are getting back to normal in many parts of the US, one thing remains the same. Americans love their beer, wine, and spirits. The alcoholic drinks market is expected to grow annually by roughly 7.5% in 2022. So getting market share is more important than ever, and Out of Home gets the mind share that translates to market share. OUTFRONT is passionate about helping people, places, and business grow stronger. We offer the best-in-class assets from billboards to buses, wallscapes to subways, and just about every digital screen in between. To dive deeper into this category and how we can help your brand reach its intended audience, I have the pleasure of welcoming our speakers. Christine Rose, Regional Marketing Director for the West Region, who also sits on OUTFRONT's Diversity and Inclusion Council and is part of the Outreach Community Service Team. Our second speaker is Alexis Cában, Art Director of the West Coast region at OUTFRONT Studios. She has been part of our award-winning team since 2019. She supports our Berkeley market in sunny California. And I'd like to give a warm welcome to our awesome client partners, Tiago, the founder of Nova Easy Kombucha and Novo Brazil Brewing, based in San Diego, California, and Opsahl, the CEO of Tivoli Brewing Company in Denver, Colorado. Before I pass off to our panel, just a reminder, enter any questions as you have them in the Q&A box down below. At the end of the presentation, we will have our panelists respond to all questions as time allows. So sit back, relax, and grab a cocktail. Please enjoy our presentation.
Thanks, Michelle. Let's dive right in and take a look about what we'll be talking about today. Today we'll first explore consumer behavior and what its evolution means for brands like yours. Second, we'll look at the trends shaping the alcohol industry. Next, we'll talk about how and why Out of Home drives results for alcohol brands. And after that, I'll pass it off to my favorite part of the presentation, where we showcase some of the most effective and impactful creative examples from brands like yours and hear from our guest speakers who will talk about the work we've done together. So let's talk about reaching your audience. The top line for 2022 is that consumers are eager to return to normalcy. So we're going out and doing things once again, attending live concerts, enjoying Broadway shows, and travel both domestic and international are just a few ways that consumers are making up for lost time. The experience economy is alive and well. Spending habits are also shifting, and brand loyalty is fluid. Whether it's supply chain challenges keeping the shelves bare or inflation making desired products unaffordable, more and more often shoppers find themselves in the need of a backup plan and thus are willing to explore new options, different products, and unfamiliar retailers. This willingness to switch and openness to consideration represent a critical inflection point for consumers, one that brands can take advantage of. Now we'll shift focus and explore some of the trends shaping the alcohol industry right now. To kick off this section, we'll start with a video. Wow, right? So the pandemic has changed people's drinking habits, with 90% of consumers planning to drink the same or more amount of alcohol as they drank last year. Alcohol sales are also expected to remain buoyant as consumers embrace their newfound freedom. And by 2025, 48% of alcoholic beverage spending and 24% of consumption by volume is projected to happen outside the home, such as in bars and restaurants. With consumers returning to the people, places, and things they love, let's take a deeper dive into a few trends. Pent-up demand has unleashed into a hyper-accelerated landscape by consumers with involved needs, values, and mindsets. This will transform everything for consumers from choosing their choice of drink in a very competitive market. The appetite for in real life connections are rising, convenience for the on-the-go consumer, better for you choices, and interest in alcohol brands that are actively creating a positive impact. The alcohol industry is a competitive business. The rising popularity of cannabis has hampered the growth of the alcoholic beverage industry. In this time of cannabis popularity, there are currently millions of different kinds of alcoholic beverages available on the market, with new categories emerging too. People are also eager to shop local small businesses, as many national brands saw a surge during the pandemic shutdowns, with customers unable to explore local products at tap rooms and bars. This desire to head out, celebrate, and create meaningful memories is evident in consumer attitudes. With more than 40% of consumers planning to spend more time going out to late night bars and restaurants this year, wherever people head, they'll expect to be wowed. Over the past 2 years, consumers have proudly shared their flourishing cocktail making skills. Now they are coming together to go back into bars and restaurants and are looking for an even more premium and delicious offerings that are different or better than what they can now make at home. With the appetite for experiences, almost 6 in 10 people saying that something new and different is an important factor in choosing a cocktail at a bar, club, or restaurant. To meet this demand, we will see alcohol brands drive customers to brick and mortar locations. Consumers are also looking for balance in their consumption habits. Beverages that offer convenience, value, and sustainability benefits will resonate. 1 in 3 consumers plan to drink more sustainability-created cocktails. The quality of ingredients, flavor, alcohol content, and origin are also increasingly important in the mind of the consumer. So much that 44% of US alcohol drinkers say they try to select the healthiest alcohol option. And 58% of consumers were drinking more non-alcoholic and low ABV cocktails than a year ago. The ready-to-drink beverages are convenient for the on-the-go consumer, making them a strong contender for growth in the last 12 months and into 2022. Let's now look at the alcohol industry and advertising. Alcohol brands are now bringing back money into the market. They will be reducing their television spend by 2.4% a year as audiences continue to shrink, and spending nearly 4 times as much on out-of-home as the average brand. So how are advertisers in the alcohol space utilizing out-of-home? New products. They are using out-of-home as to stay top of mind with their consumers before their next sip. Direct-to-consumer and delivery are emerging as important channels, and alcohol brands are reaching an audience who's thirsty for their beverages through out-of-home, which drives the most engagement online. Prime and push. Out-of-home offers the opportunity to meet audiences outside their homes as they live their lives, as well as directly at the point of purchase. In fact, around 40% of consumers have visited a website, searched for more information, or made a physical purchase after seeing an out-of-home campaign. Alcohol brands are also owning the occasion by targeting their audiences from seasonality to events. The best approach is often to go exactly where the people are already enjoying alcoholic products. Many alcohol brands find incredibly receptive customers at music festivals, sporting events, and large seasonal gatherings. By adding to an attendee's fun experience, these brands know how to secure their place in the memories of consumers. It makes an impression that lasts. This real-world presence translates to the presence of mind, making your brand stand out at the bar, the store, and everywhere in between. Let's move into how and why out-of-home gets results. While the lines between our digital, virtual, and physical lives continue to blur, we've continued to see digital burnout and fatigue rise. The majority, 63% of us, are feeling the effects of digital burnout, and even more of us, 75%, are skipping ads, making it harder for advertisers to break through digitally. On top of that, over a third of consumers are actively trying to decrease their screen time. It's certainly becoming clear that audiences are ready to spend less time in front of the screens and more time engaging in real life experiences outside the home. Out of home is part of the customer journey, even when our eyes are on the road. Total miles driven by Americans are up 8% year over year to a record high. And over 80% of consumers say they are noticing out of home on highways and local roads. Out of home is also seeing heightened awareness, a rise in trust, and an increased ability to drive action. 70% of consumers have an increased awareness and appreciation of out of home versus pre-pandemic. 58% of consumers consider out of home to be the most trustworthy medium, and 66% take some form of mobile action after seeing out of home. At OUTFRONT, we are the most visible media platform in the US, reaching 75% of the population weekly with a powerful platform of more than 650,000 assets across the country. Out of home is woven into the fabric of our communities and always on. Our mission is to deliver impactful and engaging interactions with audiences as they live their lives. I'll now pass it over to the very talented Alexis to walk through the best-in-class industry creative.
Thanks, Christine. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexis, and I'm an art director in the West Coast region. I'm excited to speak with you today and share examples of why out of home is such an awesome advertising medium, especially for out of home. Our in-house creative team at OUTFRONT is called OUTFRONT Studios. We are an award-winning in-house creative agency working exclusively with OUTFRONT clients. We are a team of 50 creatives nationwide, and together we do everything from consulting clients, ideation to execution. Our clients know their business better than anyone else, and we know out of home. So our jobs are to marry the two for some successful campaigns. So why out of home? Well, personally, after working at different companies, working with different mediums, I love out of home because I see everything around me as a canvas. Out of home evokes emotion like no other medium. The West Coast team often talks about how it's the medium that can't be turned off. And as Christine mentioned, it is woven into your community. It is for sure that medium that screams to thousands but whispers to one. I'm gonna play a video for you, and while you watch it, I want you to ask yourself, what other medium can really capture an emotion and interact with people like you're seeing now? As you can see, we can make people take out their phones with this medium, not because they're bored, but because they want to capture what they're seeing. It can transport people into different worlds. It causes people to feel anticipation, shock, joy, rage, empowerment. It can evoke nostalgia, take you back in history, make you feel pride. And straight up curiosity. I mean, you can interact with your audience using heavy props like this, and even through social media, and so much more. So why not out of home? You can take a client's vision, what you see to your left, and turn it into an award-winning 360 campaign, what you see to your right. The art director who worked on this campaign was able to translate what the client was thinking and turn it into an effective campaign with legs. And by giving it legs, I mean, there's a mobile component, there's a social component, there's bus shelters. This campaign was really scalable. Because you have 7 seconds to grab your audience's attention with out of home, your design is usually simple, easy to understand, and concise. The more that you add to your billboard, the less effective each element becomes. And because of this, you can easily scale any out-of-home campaign into web banners, magazine ads, mobile ads, versus the other way around. Which brings me to another topic that's really important when it comes to out-of-home. In the wise words of our VP Creative Director, Eddie Hurdy, 100% of boring ads don't matter. Here are just a few examples of alcohol-specific creative that our studios team has worked on. So from billboards to bus shelters to digital advertisements to photo opportunities, all of which are eye-catching, make you stop, and provoke those emotions that we were talking about before. This is one of 3 Konica liquor brands. They first came to us about Clyde Mays whiskey, and they were so impressed by what we provided to them that they trusted us enough when they were ready to introduce their second liquor brand, Prospero Tequila. This campaign, I was very excited to be a part of. What made this brand stand apart from other tequila brands was that it not only had a female master distiller, but women represented in all areas of their company. So this is what drove the campaign creative. And I wanted to visually convey this idea while still highlighting Rita Ora as the spokeswoman for their brand. We reformatted Prospero's colorful branding for out of home and suggested extensions, pitched a mobile campaign, and even a social campaign. And because of that, they came back to us a third time to reintroduce McConnell's Irish Whiskey after 90 years. This out-of-home campaign posted throughout the Boston area. And since St. Patty's Day is next week, I wanted to share this example with the QR code. This particular code led to ordering online. But something like this, you can lead to coupons, directions to the nearest bar that serves their brand. You can do a lot of things with QR codes these days. So that brings me to what makes us a successful out-of-home campaign. Well, as you can see in this example, simplicity, minimal visual elements, contrasting colors make a great formula for an excellent out-of-home campaign. And by the way, these guidelines apply to any out-of-home campaign, not just alcohol specific. As I mentioned before, out-of-home is the medium that speaks to your community. These examples speak to the local San Diego community. Campaigns like these make locals feel seen, heard, prideful. I love the play on words here, born here, raised here, not only speaking to locals, but to the Screwball liquor itself, since it's also from San Diego. So this particular client came to us with the tagline, "Tequila won't fix your problems, but it's worth a shot." This is what drove this campaign, which uses funny taglines and extensions to help it stand apart from its competitors. So as you can see, we also love collaborating with our clients as well, and sometimes their ideas are what drive the campaign. Alpine Beer also uses funny taglines, but what I wanted to point out with these examples is, imagine turning that can into an inflatable, right? That's a very cost-effective way to stand apart from your competitors. And even maybe adding Lumafilm to the fire behind that other example. It just makes your ad stand apart from all the other billboards around it. And I mean, like adding a neon sign for that caliente or the heat, you know, just having a neon sign on your billboard really helps you stand apart as well, makes you feel that heat that's just on that billboard. And this award-winning campaign was done by one of our senior art directors in LA, Ian. The client, Tiago, came to us with the vision of only purchasing one poster. But after seeing the creative, this campaign expanded and posted all over the West Coast. I'm gonna pass it over to Tiago to explain his experience with working with OUTFRONT Studios and why he came back to us and trusted us with his next out-of-home campaign for his new brewery, Novo.
Hello, Alex. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and talk a little bit about our company and the project that we did with OUTFRONT. So originally, I'm from Brazil, and I moved to San Diego in 2018. Our background is in beverage, so we developed together with my family the most awarded beverage company in Brazil in the craft beer market. We sold our company in 2015 to Anheuser-Busch, and I had the opportunity to stay there working for a period of time. And I knew the importance of communication and advertising for the consumer. So in the middle of the pandemic, how I started with OUTFRONT, because I didn't know a lot about the out-of-home market here in the US. So I saw one billboard and I said, oh, right, let me try to connect with them. So it was OUTFRONT. I accessed their website, I sent a message, and in the next day, someone was already calling me. So this was amazing because it's not so difficult to access them. So my idea in the beginning was in the middle of the pandemic, as we had 4 brew pubs and some big locations here in San Diego. Basically, we shut down and we had only the packaging and the grocery stores to sell, right? We couldn't sell for any bars. So the idea came, I need to communicate better with my local public. So, and everybody in that time was thinking only digital. Even here in my company, everybody, we need to have more digital presence. And then I said, no, let's try to do something different, completely different than all the other craft beers are doing here. So we have a brand that we started in 2018 of alcoholic kombucha that we are #3 in Southern California, #5 in the US. And we came with the idea to communicate only this small sign that you guys are seeing here, now open in Ocean Beach, that was this exactly poster that we want to do to celebrate that it was in the middle, it was open again, all the bars closing, opening, and we said, we need to communicate something. Then we were so impressed with the quality of the creative because we wanted to say like something completely different. We wanted to have an open conversation with the public. And I was shocked with the creative that OUTFRONT came back to us with the ideas of the whole campaign, that we started with 1 billboard and we closed 2020 doing more than 100 billboards all over the West Coast here with OUTFRONT. And it's unbelievable because the billboard, it's almost a consolidation for the consumer, and it's like a stamp of quality because it was supposedly to be only for brand awareness. But in the end, it became like the face of our company to the consumer. Everybody says, I see your billboard everywhere. Another day I was in the TSA going to the airport and I had my laptop out of my bag, and then the security guard came and said, I love your billboard that you have all over San Diego. So now it became almost the face of our company. And not only that, it's kind of, it opened the doors for us with the amount of banks that start to look to our company, the amount of other business that we start doing because of the billboards was a surprise for me. And for sure, everybody in the beginning think that's very expensive to do billboards, but I was surprised how cost effective it is, not only because of the good commercial relationship that we built with OUTFRONT, but also because when you look today to the digital, we invest in a lot of small things, and then you see your money going out, and you don't even, it's even hard to track, all right? And the billboard campaign was something that delivered a lot of results for us. So this is why we keep pushing. Today, for example, we have an annual contract. What we started with only 1 billboard. We have 1 annual contract with OUTFRONT. And I think the billboard, it's kind of, it's hard for a small brand like us, a startup company in the beverage, even though we're already #5 in the US, but still very small when you see all the big competitors. kind of to bring trustability to the consumer. And I think the billboard can translate this, all the happiness, all the messages that we create, the colors. So it's kind of having how to communicate more local with the consumer. So this was like what we wanted to give to the consumer with our billboards. That today, for sure, like it's by far, it's our biggest investment in market. So we kind of did a change. We were a lot only making digital, and today billboards, it has like the biggest part of our budget here in markets in our company. And for sure, we're doing this because we're seeing results in all the areas. And we're so excited. I think the good point of OUTFRONT, because we also did some advertise with other companies of billboard, but by far for me, my experience was the creative. It was, I was shocked because it was almost having a huge campaign behind working. My feeling was when I see my billboards and when I see all the creative, it's kind of, I'm working with the best creative team in my life. So now it became almost our standard marketing is everything that we do in our billboards, we translate to the rest of our company in all the materials that we are doing. So we are really excited. Thanks a lot, OUTFRONT. I love working with you guys. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Tiago. Lastly, passing it along to Ari from Outlaw Beer, who can talk to us more about working closely with Lucy from the studios team.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. And I promise that Tiago and I did not cooperate prior to this conversation, but I think, for us, it's really how do you engage a consumer in such a cluttered and busy space? And so, we went down similar roads of, what do we want to do for digital? What do we want to do for mobile? What do we want to do for, online website orders? And it kind of became this enormous amount of noise. And so literally I was driving home as we were getting ready to launch this new brand, and I saw an amazing billboard. I don't remember exactly which one it was. It was an OUTFRONT billboard, and I said, man, that cuts right to the punchline. There's no fluff. There's no button to skip the ad. If you're stuck at that traffic light, you are going to see that billboard. And so for me, the relationship with OUTFRONT really started with, similar to Tiago, a call. I called whatever the line was here in Colorado, and I kid you not, within I think 30 minutes, Tiago, they beat your time of a day. I think I got a call in about 30 minutes, and right away it was clear that we were going to be treated as if OUTFRONT was our agency with millions of dollars tied up in a contract, but we got an enormous amount of value, not just from the billboards themselves and the mobile campaign, but again, from the creative side. And to kind of echo what Tiago was saying, we are in the exact same boat. The creative that was created with the team at OUTFRONT is literally our brand guide for this entire new brand that we launched a couple months ago. And so to be able to get that much value from what I think a lot of people think of it as, oh, they're just a billboard company, we have to do a design and then they put it up and it comes down in a month. It is so much more than that, at least what OUTFRONT brings to the table. And so for us, it's been an enormous success. We wrapped up our first campaign here literally about a week ago. We worked with the commercial team, just signed up for a campaign that takes us all the way through summer, almost doubling our initial investment. And similar to Tiago, our investment with OUTFRONT as partners is now one of the largest budget items that we have from a marketing side. So, overall, I can't give a better recommendation to the team. Big shout out to Lucy, our art director. She's been amazing to work with. And we look forward to continuing to build a brand with billboards and with OUTFRONT. So thanks for the time, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ari. Passing it along one last time to Michelle for Q&A.
Great, thank you guys so much for your wonderful input on your campaigns. And I'm so happy that you guys have had the success that you have with your campaigns, because, you know, out of home is a really powerful media. So let me get straight to the questions. We have one for Ari. It says, would you be able to share any return on investment stats after your Billboard campaign kicked off?
Yeah, that's like one of my, so great question. Because when I presented this plan to our board to fund the investment into the billboards, obviously their first question was, well, what's the ROI? What's the click-through rate? What's your success rate? And I said, guys, it's measured in impressions. You know, being able to drill down to a specific ROI on an investment in a billboard is extremely difficult. What I would say is that for me, the ROI comes from the fact that I probably got, the day our billboard went up, I might have gotten 100 texts from friends, people that do not work at the company, that are not even in the industry, that saw the billboard and started reaching out. We then had retailers that would actually call us and say, hey, what's this new beer? What is this new product? We saw the billboard, we're excited about it. And so for me, you know, our launch of the new brand has been a huge success. It's about 3x the initial volumes and revenue that we expected. And look, my largest spend on marketing was with OUTFRONT on billboards. So from an ROI perspective, yes, I think it can be challenging, and I'm sure that OUTFRONT can provide a slightly different perspective. It can be very challenging to pin down an exact ROI on out-of-home media, but from where I sit, it was a home run just from the sales that we've seen and the initial velocity of the brand going into the market. It's a good question.
Thank you. We have another question, and I think this one might be good for Christine. It says, they had a question about consumers buying more local that we talked about in the front part of the presentation, and they were wondering if we can unpack it and explain why we think that is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So national brands certainly saw a surge during the pandemic shutdowns, with customers unable to explore the local products at tap rooms, bars, restaurants, etc. So in 2022, we are expecting local products to see a resurgence there, because people are now able to actually do that and actually go to those places where they hadn't been for the past couple of years. So there's that pent up demand, and people are eager to kind of support local and shop local, since they can now actually have the ability to do so.
Thank you. Another question that we have that can be for both Ari and Tiago is, how much money do you estimate you have saved by not having to pay a creative agency?
Well,
Who wants to go first? Tiago, take your shot, man.
so I think that it's really hard to say, right? Because it depends a lot of the agents that you work. But in my perspective, there is no value. If I had to put a value, I would assume that I did an economy of the amount of campaigns that I did already something around $100,000 to $150,000, because the quality of the agency, it's unbelievable. Here in California, I work, the name of the artist is Ian, and it's unbelievable. So it's hard for me to say, because if you see that today I'm using all the campaign that I roll out to all the materials that I'm doing to my company, as well as brainstorming, as idea, for me, there is no value. And answering a little bit of the last question, also I think is that it's very hard for you to track the billboard, but similar to Eric, then what I can say is that we doubled our sales in our local market, even during 2020. So the marketing agents that OUTFRONT have, for me, is the biggest differential. And for sure, the locations are also amazing.
I think, and I'll chime in on that as well. I think, look, with the initial investment that we were planning on making into billboards, which look, I'll be transparent. We were talking about a budget of $15,000 to $20,000. I could call 10 agencies and they wouldn't even engage for that dollar amount to produce an entire brand guide around a whole launch. And so for me, it's twofold. It's one, the value of the internal agency from Outfront is huge. And I would take it a step further from the perspective of, I mean, the amount of time, and I've worked with tons of agencies in the past in prior roles with other companies, and it takes a lot of time from the customer. It takes an enormous amount of time to sit down, review, go through changes, feedback, create the guides. And for whatever reason, and again, I give an enormous amount of credit to the Outfront team and Lucy, it was 2 meetings. Here's my idea. Here's a couple visual guides of what we kind of have going and what we're thinking. And they came back with something that maybe needed 1-2 tweaks. That's how good the caliber of the design work and the creative was. And so for me, it's not just what is the savings from not having to engage with a formal agency and then partner with an outdoor media company. It was also just the speed at which we could execute and the caliber that we could do it at. So hopefully that helps.
Perfect. And you guys are super popular today. I have another question. This is, what are the top 3 reasons for you, Ari and Tiago, to continue using out-of-home advertising, even if your brand grows exponentially?
Well,
I can jump in for, I'll be short, Tiago, and then you can go from there. Is I think it gives the consumer, and I think Tiago mentioned something similar about from a quality perspective, which I do agree with, but I believe that it gives the consumer 2 different emotions within the alcohol category. It gives them, one, a feeling of confidence that they can purchase that brand. If that brand can afford to be on a billboard, then it's a brand that I can likely trust. That's number 1. Number 2 is from the perspective of awareness, just how much noise there is, going back to my initial comments, how much noise there is in the market. A billboard is frequently, and again, Outfront will have way better statistics on this, and I'm not going to try to make them up, but you typically don't see it just once. A lot of these people are seeing it every day on their commute or on their walk or in their neighborhood or in their city or from their office building. And so it kind of saturates in their mind from a brand, from a logo perspective, that I think adds a lot of value. So from where I sit, exponential growth just means my exponential spend on billboards. So Tiago, what do you think?
no, I agree 100%. And on top of this, I would say here 3 points as well. The first one is that it's unbelievable to say this, but the digital is so crowded that when you go to a billboard, it's kind of, everybody think that's kind of older, right? It's exactly the opposite. You impact much more the consumer than going to digital. This is my feeling here, and I'm 100% sure of this. So first of all, I think you impact more than going to digital if you want to go local. All right, for sure, to roll out to the whole US, maybe it's impossible to afford, but if you wanna have a better communication with your consumer locally, I think it's, for me, it's number 1 and best shot. Second one, I think, is that even for the retail, so today, why I keep doing as well, all the groceries and all the retails that I am, they love our campaign. So they say, Tiago, you can't believe how we see people here coming to a liquor store and say, hey, I want that brand. I saw that brand in a billboards. I will give a shot. I want to try this brand. And the third one, I think it's the communication. Again, here in the presentation, guys, we're sharing some things like a billboard. You translate how, if you do a really nice one, the feeling that you give to the consumer, there you can't do this with TV, not even with radio. And I'm telling this because I also do TV and radio here in local, but I think it's completely unique. It's kind of a moment, you know. I got pictures all the time in my cell phone here of people shooting from our billboards and posting. So I think for me, these 3 points are on top of what Ari just said.
You guys have such good answers for everything. I love it. Thank you. Actually, the next question is for Alexis. It says, what are some of the best alcohol creatives that you have seen and why? And are there any best practices for this category specifically?
Yeah, so I'd say that the best creative that I've seen recently, I'd say like Coors tends to really speak to their audience. I think that's great. Maker's Mark has also done some really great stuff recently. I love how they push the limit with their creative. And when it comes to best practices, liquor is usually associated with celebration. So I think just have fun with your campaign. Make that bottle really pop on your billboard so that it's recognizable. So the next time your audience is at a liquor store trying to figure out, you know, what they want to grab, they remember your campaign. They remember what the bottle looks like. And I think just getting those images into your audience's mind and making sure that you're top of mind make a successful alcohol campaign.
You know, and I think that's personally, from what I've seen for both Nova and Tivoli, I think you guys have both really knocked out of the park with the creative. So I'm excited to get to San Diego and to Denver and try both out. So we do have one more question here, and this one says, are there any new trends with measurable feedback using QR codes to track particular calls to action? So I think Christine could probably take this one.
I'd be happy to. Thanks, Michelle. So definitely as we're seeing this come back out of home, there are certainly some changes in the trends that are occurring throughout the industry, and QR codes are just that. They are certainly making a comeback thanks to their touch-free technology and ability to provide brands with measurable consumer data. In fact, one study found that QR code coupons will be redeemed by a mobile device in 2022 is expected to reach 5.3 billion, more than triple than 1.3 billion redemptions reported back in 2017. With today's consumers more accustomed to be able to scanning QR codes than ever before, brands are, and especially alcohol brands, are increasingly including them in their campaigns to provide personal offerings like product information, promotions, and coupons. And in fact, at OUTFRONT, we do partner with a company called Flowcode, where we can generate these QR codes and implement them on your creative and artwork. And with that, we are able to see the measurable effects of the QR code through that platform and how many scans that they actually saw as well.
Great, thank you. It looks like we are just about out of time today, but I really did want to thank both Tiago and Ari for joining us today and sharing their excellent insight regarding their campaigns with OUTFRONT. We will be sending out a recording of today's presentation after it's over. If you'd like to revisit it, it will also be located on our content hub on outfront.com. And with that, I would like to say cheers to everyone and have a fantastic day. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.